This video is not meant for children and is brought to you by support from Patreon. Hello, and welcome back. I am Maester Aelix, and this is Stellaris Empires. We are right back where we left off here on the creation screen. And before we go into this origin, I want to thank everyone who watches these videos, clicks the little thumbs up, and even clicks the subscribe button. I greatly appreciate everyone who does this. Anyway, let's get going. Alright, today's origin is one I've been holding off on a little bit. It's called Fear of the Dark, and mostly because I didn't really know what I wanted to do. Originally, I wanted to make it a hard mode by adding in a, like the Eager Explorers thing, but you can't use Eager Explorers on this. So, I went another direction, and since I got some new stuff in biogenesis, it gives me a chance to use new stuff and try out something I think is going to be real interesting. Alright, so starting at the top, we went with Toxoid because I haven't made a lot of those, and they're really cool. And this brand new one here looks like one of the experiments from Lilo and Stitch, if you ask me. And it has a green goo, which totally fits. Fear of the Dark. A century ago, one of our planets in this Empire's home system was destroyed by a freak asteroid. Some believed it was a malicious attack by an alien species. Others brushed this off as concerns of paranoia. The tension between the two groups grew so great that a newly terraformed planet was granted to these fearmongers. Our home system is a pre-FTL civilization created by a separatist faction, formerly part of your empire, granting events and benefits. Initial pops are down 800 pops, which that's a lot. Anomaly discovery chance up 10%, anomaly research speed up 20%, so we're definitely going with discovery on first to really lean into this. Research alternatives -1, recruitable leaders per class -1. These are terrible, but workable. And like I said, you can't be Eager Explorers because I really wanted to lean into that with the initial pops thing, but alright. So there is no musts, just a whole bunch of must-nots, so we're not going to worry about that this very second. Our government and ethics. I went with spiritualist, militarist, and egalitarian. Why? Well, first off, egalitarian, so faction resource output and specialist pop output is higher, but so you can get Beacon of Liberty. This society is a shining beacon of light on a sea of darkness. Liberty and individual freedoms are held in the highest regards here. Monthly upkeep is up 15%. Empire size from pops is down 15%, and smuggle population operative difficulty is at -1%. And should we want to fill the council with a protector of liberty, that'll give us an egalitarian ethics attraction, which is nice. So, more unity and empire size down? Yes, please. But more unity, that's spiritualist. Monthly unity up 10%, edicts upkeep -10%, edicts cost down 10%, which is great. The only downside to spiritualist is you don't get that materialist research bonus, but that's what crowdsourcing is for. This society has realized that individual inspiration is the root of true innovation. Open source patents, open-mindedness, spontaneous celebrations, and innovation bounties prove to be the way of progress. Factions produce research instead of unity. Factions from your empire will form in your empire shortly after the game starts. Our faction output resource will be up 4%, but our governing ethics attraction will be down 1% if we have the innovation coordinator. So, wait a second. Faction output resource plus 25%, and the research, it produces research. This is a great combo. The only thing with crowdsourcing is that you have no fanatic ethics, and do not have a decentralized R&D civic or parliamentary system civic. So, everything we do is boosted better. And then I put in militarist because to be able to defend yourself a little bit better is a good idea. We need to be democratic, which is fine by me. Faction approval up 10%. Recruitable leaders per class is +1, so that offsets the -1 from our origin. And resets government reform and act cooldown when a new ruler is elected. which is great. Our traits. I went with traditional, so our bureaucratic jobs are up 10%. Now, two new things that can be taken just for not just by toxoids, but toxoids can take. Acidic viscosity. The internal fluid of this species serves as their most potent defense. Highly corrosive and lethal, these liquids ensure that any enemies regret poking holes. Armies explode on death for 250 damage to enemies, and purged pop resource is down 75%. So nobody wants to purge us. And we have spare organs. This species evolved redundant organs to survive even the most grievous injuries. A successful adaptation is evident by their continued existence. Leaders will survive their first death. An offensive army death has a 20% chance to spawn a replacement army and explode. And livestock output is up 50%, which is great. We are also slow breeders to afford all this, and, well, I have no problem with being slow breeders, even when we're at a disadvantage to start, because Empire Sprawl is a constant problem. Alright. In the continued efforts of naming things after my friends and roleplay partners, I have now named this group Fyro's League. Fyro is a very, very kind, soft-hearted person who doesn't actually live in all that much fear. He's just very nice, which is why I had to turn this around and make him a toxic, fearful person. Because I'm that friend. I went with Toxoids 1 because I kind of just liked the names of just everything felt alien and yet kind of mechanical. You know what I mean? Like forged fueled, basic compound. Yeah. Alright, we're on to our planet, our homeworld. I went with the cold alpine worlds because I love the big dark mountains. And because this is my friend from the Transformers roleplay server, the homeworld is named Thundercracker and his star name is Skywarp. Hooray for references. And Spyro hangs out with those two guys a lot. Alright, for our room, I went with this busted down kind of gross acid one. And for the city, I of course went with Toxoid City. It actually really works out well, and the overall darkness of Alpine just plays into this. Our advisor is Toxoid.
If you think you're better than me, why don't you just try playing alone?
There, see? Our flag is actually pretty neat. I went with this alien handprint thing, which is how their hands look when you take them out of their armor. And with the green and black, it actually turns out really spiffy flag-wise. And the green on the ships, being Toxoid ships, is... Look at that. Look at that. Big, like, tanks of goo, and they're just flowing all over the place. That base orange can't be changed, but I don't want it to be. Hello, construction ship. Look at you. Beautiful. Alright, we went with Ruler. I had random, so the name doesn't really matter. We sound like this. And the color variations change what's on the helmet. Now, I was really tempted to go with something that lets you see this readout a little bit more easier. Once I saw this one was green, I'm like, yep, and we're done. Ruler trait, Spark of Genius, to lean into that science gaining that we're already doing. And yeah, I think that'll be real fun. So, let's get into this, show you how I like to start. And do keep in mind, this is more of a story origin. So there won't be that much stuff because I don't want to ruin the story for you. I do want you to experience this on your own. A century ago, the planet we now call the Divider exploded. This was the beginning of our disassociation. At first we brushed off the destruction as a freak occurrence, but there were some on Thundercracker who believed that it was a premeditated attack on our species. This faction hypothesized that our radio transmission had been detected by some distant alien race, a race that replied with a planet-cracking projectile. The dissenters urged us to prepare for the day when the aliens would return and finish us off. Many dismissed their concerns as paranoia. The political division between the two camps continued to grow. Planet-wide civil unrest culminated in the creation of a treaty that granted dissidents a terraforming candidate a planet in which they would be free to reside on in seclusion without any interference from us. With the advent of the hyperdrive, a new source of tension has arisen. While we are eager to greet the galaxy, our neighbors stand resolutely in opposition. How intriguing is that? The first clearing. While the news of confirming the existence of aliens was not entirely unexpected for Thundercracker, it was felt worse on Bunker. They were living with the minuscule hope that perhaps the Divider's destruction was just a freak accident, but now they are convinced that the universe is out to get them. We need to destroy these aliens before they can come here and finish the job. It is the type of fanatic cry being broadcast on Bunker Media. This was the very first story bit. As you see, we're just like 3 months in, and yeah, things are going crazy, but that's why you take this origin. Alright, so we've got our first tradition, and like I said in the intro, discovery all the way. I mean, that's my default when I don't have a plan, but this especially, we need the additional research, and we're already kind of science focused thanks to our factions, but we want to lean into that a little bit more. Alright, so now that we've finished discovery, and I selected consecrated worlds this time, though what you pick is up to you on that one. Next step, there's a lot of really good next steps. I'm going to hold out for archivism, and that way I can get the frontier archaeology thing, because archaeological sites in unknown space is so good. So that's what my plan is, but I got to hold off till we get the thing built. Okay, it took me a bit, but I finally built the Grand Archive, so I can do archivism.
Council agenda available.
And we've been banking this stuff for a while, so let's just grab all we can, shall we? Unfortunately, there's not a whole lot to get into on this, because it's a lot of story and decisions, and I want you to experience that. So now that I've taught you how I think we should start off, feel free to pick this group up and give it a try. And do keep in mind that crowdsourcing bonus. It is very, very good. So here's where I'm going to say thank you all for joining me. I really hope you're enjoying this series as much as I'm enjoying making it for all of you. If you do, you know what to do, and that's to like, comment, and of course share these videos around, maybe watch 6 or 7 more, I'd really like that, and of course subscribe. It's a little click for you, but a really big deal for me, and I greatly appreciate everyone who does. Also, check out the links down below, because that's where all the really good stuff is, and you watch Maester Aelix videos, you deserve really good stuff. With that being said, I shall see you all on the next one. And I'd like to give a special shout out to all my patrons who help make these videos possible. Aaron Smith, Brian Pelfrey, Chris Armstrong, Dennis Detman, Harry Thompson, and Mark Milius. Thank you all so much for your contributions. I wouldn't have this channel without you. Thank you very much.